Welcome to another episode of Bklyn Rosie True Crime. We have more information available in the Queens DA data dump. Thank you so much, John, for sharing this with the community. We at Bklyn Rosie True Crime are extremely grateful. Today I will cover the testimony of Tommy Zaino, which was taken on August 5th, 1977. My backdrop, of course, is honoring Stacy Moskowitz and Robert Violante, who were the victims of this vicious crime. Let's get started with the paperwork. So let me get this up on the screen for you. There we go. Let's move it over just a little bit. All right. Let me move myself just a little bit. All right. So we've got the paperwork on screen, and I'm going to read it for you. So this statement again was taken at the office of District Attorney, Brooklyn, New York on August 5th, 1977, commencing at or about 4 p.m. by Assistant District Attorney Garrett Lewis. Present was Detective Ed Zigo, Shield number 2419, 10th Homicide Zone. Martin Spitzer was the hearing reporter. So I'm just going to go through here, right to the questioning. Okay, I understand you were in the vicinity of, and I'm assuming that the redaction is Shore Parkway and 17th Avenue. Yes, I was. Do you recall what time you were there? What time you arrived at the scene? I arrived at approximately 2 o'clock, so we're talking a.m., guys. How did you get to that area? I drove there. In what vehicle? What type? Corvette. Is that your Corvette? My friend. Were you with anyone? A girl. Upon arriving at that area, what did you do? I pulled over and parked right near the footpath on Shore Parkway. Could you describe that area a little more? Under there is the street lamp there. Right at my right, there is the park, Cropsey Park. You were sitting on the driver's side of the car? Yes. You parked the car on the left side or the right side? Left side. Then the passenger side was facing the traffic lane, in other words? Yes. Upon arriving there, did you see any other cars in the area? When I pulled up, I saw one car. He had been pulling away as I pulled up. What did you do when you got there, when you first got there? I stopped the car and we got out. Took a walk up to the footpath right over the parkway. It was too cold. We walked back to the car, only a minute or 2 minutes. I walked, just too windy. I went back to the car. I stood there for a while. I was underneath the light, and I was there maybe for a minute. I pulled my car up to a darker area. So if you remember, we did listen to the DA questioning from 1979, and so far pretty consistent. How far did you pull the car up? About 3 car lengths. Did you pull it up the same side of the street? Yes. When you changed the position of the car to where it originally was, did anything unusual happen? Well, I kept hearing a noise as I was parking the car of another motor passing by. Only reason I heard it, it was continuous. Did you look at what type of car it was passing? I happened to catch the roof of the car. The color was yellow. Sounded like it was a Volkswagen motor. Why do you say it appeared to be a Volkswagen? I'm a mechanic. I am with cars all the time. I can tell any kind of motor. You recognize the color of the car? The roof of it was all I caught was yellow. What style was the roof? Wasn't like a regular roof, like a fastback. Wasn't like a bug or beetle sloped roof? Right. How many times did you hear this noise? About 5 or 6 times. During this period of time, was there any other car in the vicinity of Bay 14th and Bay 16th where you were parked? No, there wasn't. What else occurred? Well, it was getting cold. I closed my window. Last time I heard the car, I was aware it got quiet. There was no more noise. There were no other cars in the area? No. And a minute later or so, I seen another car. I seen headlights hit the inside part of my car. I looked, turned around, and seen another car back and turn up, the right side of the street where I was. In other words, the driver's side was next to the park, the passenger side was next to the traffic? Right. What was the time lapse between the time you first got to the park and parked when this car came upon and parked? About 30 minutes. That was the lapse? Yes. Could you estimate what time that car arrived? About 2:30. So that makes sense. He said he got there about 2. It was about 30 minutes, so about 2:30 a.m. Did you see individuals in that car? Yes, I noticed 2 people. Did anything unusual occur thereafter? So obviously the 2 people he's referring to are Robert and Stacy pulling up behind him. Did anything unusual occur thereafter? They were parked, then I happened to notice a squad car go by within this time. I didn't hear the car no more. 5 minutes afterward, I didn't hear the car anymore. After 5 minutes, I seen the squad car go back. Was the second car parked behind you when the squad car arrived at the scene? Yes. What did the squad car do? Just drove by. What happened then, as best as you can remember? Right after the squad car went by, maybe a minute or 2 minutes, I noticed a man near the fence, near the opening in the park, through my rear view mirror, and I didn't think nothing at first. This park, is it on your left or right hand side? On my left. On my right. In other words, was that the passenger side of your car? Passenger side. What did you see occur? I watched this man walk towards the car that was parked behind me, and he didn't seem strange. As soon as he got up to the car, close to the passenger window, he crouched down into a shooting arch position and shot into the car. How far away from the car was he? Maybe about a half a foot. I seen him, his arm go up as he shot. How many shots did you hear? 4. Were you constantly watching this individual during this time? Yes. You say he was on the side of the car. He wasn't in front of the car in any way? Right at the passenger door. When this individual first approached, did you see him carrying any weapon? I didn't notice the weapon as he walked to the car. He had both hands in front, loose. You wouldn't walk like that near his stomach. While he was walking, he kept his hands in that position? Yes. Did you ever see him remove any type of a weapon from his garment? No, he just came out with it. Was there any interim between the shots? No, one right after the other. After you heard the shots, what did the individual do? Turned around and ran fast, back into the park the way he came out. Took the same path? Yes. What did you do? I drove. I made a right turn on Bay 14th corner. We turned at Cropsey, made a right, went to 17th Avenue, just stopped for a second, looked down the block to see if I seen him running through the park. I didn't see nothing. I don't see any lights. I took off to the precinct. What was the lighting conditions in the immediate area of the shooting? Light up a lot. I guess he meant lit up a lot. I noticed his clothes clearly. You say you observed him through the rearview mirror. Anytime you turn around and saw this individual? No. Your observation of this individual was, you seen his face or profile? Profile. Which side of his face did you observe? Right side. At the time of the shooting, how many cars were in the vicinity? Within that area, I didn't see any, only 2 cars. What was the race of this individual? White, black, Hispanic, could you tell? He looked white. I know for sure he wasn't black, but the street lamp over his face, it cast a shadow in his face. I know he was white. Mr. Lewis, no further questions. So that was pretty short. I would have really loved to dig into his actual witness statements to the police. I'm still digging through the data. The police notes are very difficult to read. They're out of sequence. They're very sloppy, but I am working through it to see what I find. I will mention, and I'm only going to go into it a touch, I did see something about a van, but he doesn't say anything in the DA report. So I'm not going to go deep into that. I'm going to look deeper into it and maybe come back on a follow-up video. But what did you think of that? He says he heard the Volkswagen engine or motor, were his exact words, but he only saw the top, and the top didn't look like the regular bug top. Other than that, I thought it was short, but it was relatively consistent, a lot less detailed than his 1979 interview with the Queens DA.
I didn't think it was David Berkowitz then, and I don't think it's him now. I didn't think it was David Berkowitz then, and I don't think it's him now.
I didn't think it was David Berkowitz then, and I don't think it's him now.
You ready? Sam, December 5th, 1979, time is 6:15. We're at the premises of Zaino Auto Body to interview Tommy Zaino, who was present at the scene of the Tracy Moskowitz shooting on July 31st, 1977. Present at this time, myself, Assistant District Attorney Herbert Leifer.
Michael Amienti.
George.
Detective George Bird, Queens DA's office.
Detective Langone from the Queens DA's office.
Tommy Zaino.
All right, Tommy, as I indicated on the heading of the tape, we're here to get some information from you with regard to what you observed at the scene of the Tracy Moskowitz shooting on July 31st, 1977. Just tell us in your own words, as best as you can recall, starting from the time you arrived at the scene, give us the location you arrived at, where you were, what kind of automobile you were on, if you were in one, and what you saw. Okay?
Well, I got there about, I can't remember the time exactly.
About.
I think it was like about 10 after 2 around there. And I hung out there. We're parked under the street lamp on Shore Parkway between base, I think it was base 17 and base 16, in between there. And right next to the highway. I was under the light for a while, and then I just happened to pull up to, it was a little darker. And a little while after that, somebody parked behind me, and, I seen headlights from the mirror, just a reflection. Then I happened to look through my mirror. I don't know why, I just looked, because I wasn't doing anything, I was just hanging out. So I looked through the mirror, and I seen a guy, hanging out near the entrance of the park, in between over there.
What was he doing over there?
It was just, right before then I had seen a lady walking a dog, and, because they all walk their dogs. So when I seen this guy, I looked, I thought maybe he was walking a dog, because he was near the fence, And then he just came out of the fence, off the sidewalk, towards that car that was behind me. And it looked like he was getting into the car, because I think he touched the handle of the car, I'm pretty sure. He got really close to it. And then he just went into a stance, fired into the car.
You say he went into his stance. Do you recall whether he had his right hand forward, his left hand forward?
Both hands were out.
Both hands? How about his legs?
He was crouched a little.
How was he dressed?
He had, his sleeves were rolled up, shirt was loose. As if I would wear my work shirt, button it up, just hang it out of the pants.
Did he have a jacket on?
No, I just remember the sleeves rolled up. Plus, I didn't see it too clear, but I got a pretty good idea of when I seen the street lamp hit him, and when I seen him walking towards the car, and then I just...
So Tommy was in his vehicle with his date or friend, and they were initially parked under the street lamp. So I'm assuming there, it sounds like he wanted to have a more romantic atmosphere. So he pulled the car up so that they're not right in the light where everybody could see what they're doing. And then he saw the car pull behind. And now the car that pulled behind with Moskowitz and Violante were under the lamp, the street lamp.
Seemed like a shadow.
Were you alone in your car?
No, it was with a girl.
Okay. What kind of car were you in?
In a Corvette.
And you observed this through the rear view mirror, the side view mirror, or which?
The rear view. There's only one rear view.
Okay. And you saw him go into a stance, and then what happened?
And he fired.
How many shots did you hit?
4.
The windows open in your car?
Nope, they were closed.
Was it?
He was very low there. Actually, he's low throughout the whole interview. He sounds quite tired. He said 4 shots, if you weren't able to make that out.
The engine
That's
going?
why, no, the engine wasn't. It went right after that. Started right up.
How else can you describe him? Besides the shirt, what kind of pants was he wearing?
I couldn't tell you the type of pants. It was hard because when he walked over to the car, he didn't just walk over it. That's why I couldn't get his height, but I got it pretty close after he ran away.
Was he heavy set? Was he thin?
Or with the shirt out of his pants. He looked, stocky. He didn't look built or nothing, but he looked heavy.
How tall would you say he was?
I'd say he was around 5'9". I know he was a little taller than me, plus he was bigger.
Could you describe his hair?
His hair, when I seen him, his hair was like wild and long and straight.
How long would you say? Shoulder length? Longer, shorter, like yours?
Well, yeah, like you could say it was like mine. Like I said, it didn't look like his.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It didn't look like, it didn't look like his hair. It was wild.
No, it was, when you say wild, was it wild, straight kind of hair or wild, messy kind of hair?
Wild, straight kind of hair.
When he ran away?
So wild, straight kind of hair. We know that that's not Berkowitz. That's not his hair description. So is this a case of where maybe Berkowitz was wearing a wig, but he certainly doesn't have long hair and if it were long, it would be at least wavy. So just keep that in mind. The 5'9", the, chubby or broad, stocky was how he just described it. That makes sense.
Did anything stick out in your mind about the way he ran? Was he a
just
fast
ran
runner?
fast from
Did he
the
run your way or the other way?
Ran right back into the park.
Now that was back behind you. Or,
Trudy, in between the park and the
no,
entrance.
when I say when he ran away,
The car was straight, even with the entrance, so he ran straight back into the park.
so
Okay,
back behind the car.
we're gonna see that soon.
Hey, he didn't
Well,
run.
you know how it's located. Well, right from, I guess from the side straight back into the park. Like if you looked from the park towards the street, you seen the car.
He didn't run in the same direction from which you came.
Yeah.
He did run in the same direction from which you
park
came.
and ran back.
Well, when you saw him later on, once they caught him, did the fact that his hair was apparently different from the night you saw him bother you at all?
No.
Why not?
Because I didn't. I can remember somebody's face, even if the hair's messed up. His hair could have been, his hair could have been all messed up. It's,
Can you clarify what you mean by his hair being wild?
Like if his hair, I don't know, if you got curly hair and if you wet it or something and you just towel it, you know how it looks? It's straight for a minute before it curls, like that.
What was the weather like that night?
It was alright.
Was it raining?
I know it was a little chilly.
Was it raining?
That's how I had the windows closed. No.
Okay. I have naturally wavy hair. He doesn't always appear that way. That wouldn't make sense because remember, this was in Brooklyn, so he would have been traveling. So let's say he washed his hair and toweled it the way Tommy explains. By the time he would have made it to Brooklyn and it would have started drying naturally, a natural wave would have come out. So unless he had a spray bottle in the car with a comb and went like that. So the hair thing is definitely an issue. Now, if a wig was worn, that would explain.
I closed my windows because it was cold over there.
But it was dry.
Yeah. You also, you're near the water, so it's a little damp.
But his hair did cover his ears, right? That night you saw him?
Yeah.
The lady you saw walking the dog, do you remember what kind of dog it was? Was it?
Man, it wasn't the same, that I can't remember, and that happened before. Like I would say, as soon as I got
Let me turn it off while you're on the phone. All right, Tommy, could you describe the color of the hair that you saw?
it was like a dark brown, but not that dark. A little highlighted.
Now you see my hair under the light. Was it as light as mine or was it dark?
Under a street lamp, like, it's hard, because the top of it was like a light, and the sides were dark.
So would you say it's as dark as the sides of mine?
A little dark in
A little darker the sides of mine. Was it as curly as mine? Like, take a look at the back.
No.
Was it like that?
No.
Now, when you ran, I'd like to get back to that because it's my understanding that you were impressed with the speed with which you ran.
He ran like anybody else would run after doing something, like,
You know
he
what I'm
ran
saying?
fast. He's low and fast, like, not like just running away. He shot, he was still crouched down a little, even as he ran. He ran low. And it was good.
Seriously.
But at this point, having seen photographs of Berkowitz, both on TV and in the press, do you feel it's the same person that pulled the trigger that night? Even though the discrepancy in the hair is as great as it is.
I still say it's him.
Now you mentioned something earlier about
So he says, yeah, very low first. He goes, yeah. And he says, I'd still say it's him. He sounds like he's not sure to me. Just my opinion. Drop it in chat. What are you thinking? He doesn't sound so sure. He is saying, yeah, I still think it was him. It sounds very different from the story where it's, I didn't think it was Berkowitz then, and I don't think it's him now. It was him now. So it's very, he was very definitive when he made that statement. And this, this is so much closer to the actual event. And he just doesn't sound to me, this is my opinion, Tommy doesn't sound to me like he's very certain. He also sounds very tired or just doesn't want to be there. Let's carry on.
Wet hair would look that way. Was that something you thought of, or did the police happen to mention?
No, they didn't tell me nothing.
Has anyone swayed your opinion as far as what you saw, or what you could have seen that night?
What do you mean?
In other words, have you been biased by, say, the police department mentioning that it could have looked that way if his hair was wet, or anyone else that you may have spoken to since then that may have injected some other thoughts?
Yeah, nobody really. Everybody, when they seen this picture, they really, I don't know if they really believe me that what I seen with the hair was the right way.
If you saw him in the lineup with others, you think you can pick them up? Of course, you saw his pictures, true picture.
I seen his pictures.
That's fine.
Are you satisfied that was David Berkowitz?
When I seen him.
In other words, what I'm
when
getting
I
at...
first seen him, something that night, I remember the first night when they, it was, when they caught him. It was, I was still in the hotel and everything, and I seen it on TV. It was flashed on me, he was downtown, and I seen him. And then something went through me, and I looked at him, and I knew it was him.
Have you discussed this with...
There's people that I know could look like somebody else too, but I just know it's him.
Have you discussed this with the girl who was in the car with you at all?
No.
Have you ever mentioned it all to her? No, I mean just you and she together.
She didn't see anything.
No, that's not the point. The point I think is this. Have you discussed it with her at all?
About what?
If you say, that was the guy I saw, is that what you said to her?
About what? They witnessed the shooting. Well, he witnessed the shooting. He said that she didn't see anything. I think they were having a little romance going on, and her head was probably down and didn't see, so I believe that. He also stated earlier that he was leaning back and looking through the rearview mirror, so you could use your imagination on that. But that answer really didn't make sense to me. He's like, what? What would we talk about? You're in a car where the car behind you just got shot at. People were just shot, and you're going to have some discussion. So, and just a quick tidbit. Again, I can't confirm this right now. I'd like to confirm it for you, but I was informed that he stated that he knew Stacy and Robert from the area. So I don't know if he knew at the time that they were the people that were behind him, but just something to throw out there. But he seems so uncertain here. And I truly believe, and I don't think it's intentional in any way. I think that once the papers came out, and he's, if you listen earlier, he sounds pretty certain about the face. But then everything else seems, the light, it's hard to see, and which makes sense, obviously. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, it's dark. But he was very certain about the face in his initial answer. But then he starts getting a little wishy-washy. So, and again, I don't think it's intentional. I think, maybe he was a little confused. He was swayed, I'm sure, a little bit. He thought that it was Berkowitz after seeing the papers, seeing all that. I know that he spoke with Violante afterward, and I don't know what the discussions were, but it's definitely a natural thing to get swayed. Oh man, there's the guy, he got caught, and then that's what it is. And I don't know, I'll be honest, so far he just doesn't feel really solid to me in his answers. And that's just my personal opinion. He did say, yeah, but it wasn't like, yes, that was him. I am certain of it. It wasn't anything like that. It's very light. He's really thinking it like, yeah, I think it was him. It sounds like that's what he really wants to say, but my opinion only. Let's carry on.
Afterwards, after he was, have you gone out with her since that time? I'm not asking you who she is. I don't care who she is. But have you ever had an occasion to discuss with her? What happened that night?
Not really. He just said they were both lucky.
What happened after the shooting? Now, he said he ran in the park. What did you do?
I got the car started and went right around the block, and I went to the front of the park, and looked to see if I seen any headlights starting up.
Did you?
No, I didn't see nothing. And then I just took off down to, where did I go? I went down to, I think, 18th Avenue, a couple blocks down, and went right to the 6-2, to the police station there. And I told them.
Did you
They
know?
looked at me like I was a nut,
Did you know that he did in fact shoot people?
I didn't really. So far, everything was just going through my head right now, and I told this guy, I says, I think people got shot. He looked at me, and I took off, and I got back there before anybody was there. There was just some lady there with a couple of blankets and stuff. She didn't want it, so I got out and I went over to him. But then, I seen it. I seen the girl in the car. The robber was out of the car by then. He was on the floor.
Did you know Robert personally?
Then I seen him around.
Oh, you did?
Now I talk with him a lot.
Did Robert see anything?
No, I don't want to say. I don't know.
But did he mention to you that?
Yeah, he talked to me. I talked to him, but
Were you pretty much in agreement as to who the person was that night?
Yeah.
Through your sketch? He saw the same hair you did.
Well, all I could say is that he told me that it was fish, what had happened, but the guy he's seen before was the same guy. But he never seen my sketch with the hair.
Did you see this guy on the swings?
And he knows the guy that he's seen is him. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, you say you saw David walk into the park, right? Saw him come through the...
So there it sounds to be that in a discussion with Violante sounds like he was very certain that it was him. So I still didn't get that Zaino is certain, but I did get that after his discussion with Violante, he was certain that it was his face. So. Also, my source told me, I'll just throw it in here while I'm already on pause. He had told him, Zaino told him that when this initially happened, he started the car up, I'm sure, out of fear and took off first. Now, in this interview, he's saying that he went right to the precinct, which I'm sure is possible, but that he went back to the scene. But he initially took off and then came back. All right, let's keep going.
Entrance.
Came out of the park.
Right, but he came to where you were, right? Did you see him doing anything in the park?
No, you can't really, from that angle, you can't see him. All you see is the end, the open. I couldn't see anything in there.
Did any cars drive by when you were there that stuck out in your
It
mind?
was like, there were cars going by. It was funny. It was like, if you would know what went through my mind, too, it was weird. It was like maybe somebody was telling me something, because when I was parked in the spot under the light, I looked towards the entrance of the park. It was straight. And I even said to myself, we just left a bar, and I was talking about this. He was supposed to hit the night before and all of this. And we all went home that night. We said, let's go home. Meanwhile, I go and park over there. When I looked into this park, I thought about him, or if he was around. If he walked out of this park, he could see anywhere, because it's a one way. You could see anything for blocks, and you could do anything. That's what really made me pull up. So I went through my mind. I didn't really think it would happen.
So another quick note from my source. Zaino, had contact with Berkowitz a few times, and Berkowitz actually told him that the spot he was in, I guess Burke was lurking around the park, he said that he was going to actually shoot at that car, at the Corvette. I'm just sharing information. I don't know for sure that that's true, but just sharing information that I've heard. But think about it. He was in the light first and then moved up. And then Bklyn and Moskowitz pulled into that spot, and then they were shot at. So it makes sense. I believe it. All right, let's carry on.
It was funny.
Did you see a Volkswagen go by there?
No, but I heard a Volkswagen motor go by.
He heard a Volkswagen motor. He said, nah, but I heard a Volkswagen motor go by.
Did you happen to catch a
I was
glimpse of the
sitting
car?
low in the car, so I didn't really see anything. Then I seen like
Sitting low in the car, Fellatio.
high part of the roof, go by.
You don't know what color
It
that
looked
was?
like, yeah, it was like a yellow. That's what I told them too.
Was it bug or a fastback or?
It was the like the station wagon type of one. I guess it's
The square back.
Yeah.
After the shot? Before it?
No, this is before time. I heard this thing.
But how much before?
I couldn't tell you what time.
No.
No, but a few minutes before the shooting, a half hour before the shooting.
No, I wasn't there more than 20, 25 minutes. So I would say everything was going pretty fast. So you could say a couple of minutes before the shooting. And I got to realize minutes and seconds here with this thing now. Somebody talks, they say 20 minutes. It's only 5 minutes. But this
Yeah.
thing, the way it happens.
Now, you say he had the shirt out of his pants. Did you see anything, any bulges in his pockets? Did you notice any bulges in his pockets?
It looked like he was walking. He had something, like I didn't really notice it. But when he just pulled his hands up, it must have been in his hands already. Because I didn't see him reach for nothing.
Did you see the gun at all?
When he was shooting, I seen the flash and everything.
Did it light up the gun?
Well, I seen the kick. I seen the kick on the gun. I knew he really didn't have it into the window. People said he went right into the window. He couldn't have because he would have hit the kick on the gun. But the way he was shooting, it would have hit the car.
How many shots?
4 shots.
What kind of car were they sitting in?
What kind of car they were in?
Yeah.
And I think a Skylark or a Buick or something.
Was Robert parked there the first time you came to the park?
No, there was nobody there. It was empty.
How long after?
Once you moved from the light,
I just
when did he
pulled
pull
up
in?
2 car lines.
Okay, and at what point did Rob pull over with his car?
And how long was he sitting before this guy walked over to him?
He wasn't there too long.
Well, you said you were there about 20, 25 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Right. How long were you there before you moved the car?
Because it happened pretty fast right after that, so I would say maybe more than half the time.
All right, so you were there about 15 minutes. You pulled the car up about a car length. And then how long after you pulled the car up did the car pull in behind you?
A couple of minutes after that.
Okay. And then how long after the car pulled in did you see the shooting?
10 minutes. It happened fast. First there was nobody behind me, and then the car, and then it just happened.
And you didn't see
I
that
didn't
same
hear
person?
they said they got out of the corner. I didn't hear none of that. I just remember them pulling up. I happened to look. They just,
Was Robert's windows
Together.
up or down? Did you know?
I think they were up. I don't know.
In other words, he shot him through the glass?
When you
See,
came
that's
back,
the
was the
thing.
glass laying on the ground?
That's the thing. Like when I looked, I can't remember that. I couldn't even tell you.
You took off after the shooting, then by the time you came back, they might have been open. Is that it? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't know. I can't even tell you anything with that. The way it looked, the way he shot, I heard the gun, I didn't hear no glass break.
Did Robert tell you he'd gotten out of the car before the shooting happened?
I see. When I got back there, he was getting out of the car. He grabbed onto the pole.
But after they pulled in behind you, did anyone get out of that car?
He said he got out of the car.
When did he tell you that, afterwards?
Yeah.
How about the girl? Did she get out too?
Yeah, they both got out of something. I don't know. They said they walked, over the thing, the crosswalk over the highway.
How far is that from where you were parked?
From where I'm parked?
Yeah.
So it's his car. It's even with the crosswalk.
No. All right, so he got out of the car, he said, with the girl, and they walked over to the crosswalk.
Yeah, this is what I heard, so I don't know,
What, did Robert tell you that, or you just heard it?
He told me. Pretty sure that's what he said.
You didn't notice anyone getting out of the car, though?
No, I can't remember that.
You remember how Robert was dressed? Oh, you saw him afterwards when you came back. Was he wearing a jacket?
I wasn't looking at his clothes. I was just trying to help. That's it.
Do you remember the color of the shooter's pants? Just the color.
His pants that he had on,
Were they dark, light?
they weren't light, they were dark.
And the top you said was out sleeves, it was hanging out. Was that dark?
Yeah, no, that was a little lighter. That wasn't dark.
What color would you say it was? Was it white, or was it...
light blue or something like that? Light. Like the color of my shirts, like over here. Beautiful. Like that color.
And his sleeves were rolled up? You said his sleeves were up. Were they rolled up, or were they short sleeves?
They were rolled about up to here.
Up to about the elbow?
Yeah.
Did you notice whether he was wearing a watch? Anything shine under the light? Because you said he was under the street light, right?
Nothing shine.
Nothing shining on his hands or his fingers.
Just a gun after that.
Remember which hand he held the gun in?
Both hands. Yeah, both
Yeah, but one
arms.
hand had the trigger on it.
This hand came up. When it came up, his right hand came up.
Right hand came up first. And he grabbed it with the... In the right hand, he grabbed it with the left. Is there anything that you've thought of since the incident, since you spoke to the cops? So anything that you may have come to mind that you hadn't mentioned to the cops?
But you didn't recall until recently.
I went through this a lot of times, so... No. I'm saying the most I ever said over here. That's it right now.
Did you ever see Berkowitz in person again? That was the only time you saw him. Now, how long would you say the whole incident took place? From the time you saw him coming out of the park?
Second.
4, 5, 6, 10 seconds?
No more than like 10 seconds. I'd say around 6, 7 seconds. That's it.
You saw him moseying around first, you say. And then he made the move to the car.
When I seen him pop out of there, I looked. He didn't stop or nothing. He might have been standing like right behind the fence there, where I couldn't see. And he just happened to walk out. When I looked like he was walking a dog or something. And then he just started approaching the car.
And then he went back in the park.
And it was funny, though. Everything was quiet then. A little time before that, when I was hanging out, there were cars coming by and stuff. Just then, everything got quiet. Because, that was it.
It's a desolated
There
spot.
was nothing, it sounded like...
So not too many people even heard the shot.
Well, there's apartments right down on the corner there. So they could have heard him, and there was a house right there.
Were there any other cars parked there besides yours and his?
Not that I seen. I talked to a couple of people that happened to be there that just split right after that I didn't even know. They didn't want to get involved.
Did anybody say anything?
Down further, but they didn't see nothing. They just heard everything and they took off.
That VW that you said you saw, did you see it or
I didn't
hear
say
it?
it was a VW. It sounded like a Volkswagen engine with a long, station wagon type of back on it. So all I seen was the roof of it.
All right. Now, did that go by before you saw Berkowitz or after you saw Berkowitz?
Before, so.
How long before?
So again, he corrected them and said, I didn't say I saw a VW. I said I heard a VW engine. So, and he knows his engines, but you know, he didn't physically see it. He said it twice in this interview. I know he said later on that he did see it, but in this interview, he said twice. He confirmed that he heard the engine but did not see the VW.
It's hard to judge sometimes. It's still, you know. I didn't see it. I seen it a couple times. I heard it twice. You know, I didn't hear it just once go by. Not heard it.
Did it go by both times before the shooting?
It went by before the shooting, yeah, twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
Did you see it both times? Or did you hear it both times?
Once I heard it. Yeah,
Once you heard it?
Yeah.
All right. Which time did you see it? The first time or the second time?
Second time.
Second time. Which direction was it going when you saw it?
There's only one way to go down.
Okay, it's one-way street.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one way in the street, the next block where any traffic coming is down block two.
If you were driving that Volkswagen past that place, how would you have to go?
The next block you go around.
So you have to go around. You have to go around one whole block in order to see it.
And then down another little block because it's dead end the front of the park.
The time period between the first and the second time you heard it.
The park is on your left.
Okay, thank you.
The park is on my right.
On your right.
across
The
street.
parkway is on.
Yeah.
The parkway is on your left. And that's between base 16 and base 17?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Now, the time it took between the first and the second time, would that be the time it would take to drive around that block?
What's up?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't have had a hard time looking for a parking space if he wanted to park, right?
That guy, yeah.
There was plenty of parking, you say, right? So in other words, he was scouting for something.
Were his lights on?
What's his lights? I don't know. Couldn't see below that.
Couldn't see. Why was it that you could only see the rooftop of the car? What was blocking it?
You want to go out, take your that you sit down, and crouch down with a gun on your face.
Yeah, okay.
And you only see the top, I didn't see the side.
The car there.
All right.
This is the car, is it?
Okay. Thanks, Fran. See you later.
That's the car.
Any other questions? Mike? George? Sam? All right, time is now 6:45. We're turning to tape.
So that wasn't a very long interview, and that's about the third time that I listened to it. Again, this is my opinion, and I don't think that it's intentional. Keep in mind that he's already told his story many times, I'm certain. Plus, he's had conversations with Violante, and based on their discussions, things stay in your mind. So he may have heard something that Robert said, and he may think that it's something he remembers. He just doesn't sound, to me, in my opinion, super certain. I'm not saying that he's doing it intentionally. I just don't feel 100% convinced. The only thing that he sounded certain about was the face. And that's important, obviously. That's very important. But that was the only thing that I felt was very certain about. Everything else was very, maybe. And, now you also have the recollection factor. You also have it happened fast. It was dark. They're on the service road of the highway. It's very dark there. It's traumatic. So, you go into fight or flight mode. He took off, he came back. Again, he had the discussion many times. So the details to me could be more convincing. Again, unintentional, but when you listen to future statements, they sound very, very strong, more convincing. I'm not saying that the future statements are true and these are not. This was closer to the event. Now, what we really need are reports, the police reports from the night of and the next day. That would be very telling to be able to listen to what his interview sounded like then. That's what we're really needing. We're needing to see these police reports. We need to see this information. If they had tape, testimony or interviews, we need to hear those. This is really awesome to be able to hear this. This is a lot earlier and closer to the event than later interviews that were done for Ultimate Evil and all that stuff that was much later. So I tend to lean more towards the truth being in these interviews, not just this one, but all of them. There's lots in there, but I guess I wish that he sounded more certain of what he remembered.
No, I didn't think it was Dale Berkowitz then, and I don't think it's him now.
No, I didn't think it was Dale Berkowitz then, and I don't think it's him now.
So there's the re-listen to the Queens DA interview in 1979, and I'm still in the same place. I would love to see Zaino's statement the night of the murder when he was initially interviewed by police. I know many have rendered Zaino as an immaterial witness due to the 180 change in his story. It is what it is, but I hope that we had some great dialogue and chat. I will have a proper outro, and then stay tuned for a short memorial video for the victims and survivors of these heinous crimes. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, spending time with me, and as always, I appreciate you so much, really. Have a great night. In true crime cases, there are two imperative tasks done by law enforcement in order to organize and ultimately arrest those responsible for committing the crime or crimes. One is preparing a list of suspects. The other, constructing a timeline of events. I am so excited to present to you the Son of Sam Timeline Task Force. The Son of Sam Timeline Task Force is a collaborative effort between Cracklin' Rosie True Crime, Book Club Warrior 22, and Ruby Almighty. We have worked diligently as a team to bring the community a more modern timeline tool to include a slideshow of general case data, a downloadable PDF with links to supporting documentation, and a soon-to-be-announced platform for serious SOS case researchers to work together towards SOS truth. Our hope is that the SOS community will embrace this as a gift and will offer support as we build this timeline project, not only for ourselves, but for future researchers. Enjoy. Please take a few moments to read what the team had to say about the Timeline Project experience.